The slave. Nobody wanted. The slave market on planet Ura buzzed with noise. Slavers shouted prices. Buyers inspected slaves like meat. Giant lights lit up cages where scared beings sat, chained, dirty, and hopeless. Strong warriors were sold first, then fast runners, then mind readers. One by one, the useful slaves were taken. Only one cage was left in the corner. Inside it sat a small alien girl, thin, weak, silent. Her skin was pale gray, marked with burns. Her hair was messy, her eyes tired. She didn't look up. She didn't beg. She didn't speak. She had stopped hoping a long time ago. The auctioneer pointed lazily at her. Worthless junk. He laughed. Can't clean, can't fight, barely eats, might die tomorrow. The crowd chuckled. One slaver whispered, throw her back in the pits. Another said, let the beasts have her. Not worth the food she eats. The auctioneer slammed the cage shut and turned away, but then footsteps echoed through the dusty market. Heavy boots, calm steps. A tall human walked in wearing an old coat and goggles pushed up on his forehead. He was quiet. His face was hard to read. He looked around once. Then he pointed to the cage in the corner. I'll take her, he said. The auctioneer froze. That one? The crowd laughed. Human must be blind. She's broken. She'll slow you down. But the human didn't reply. He simply took out a credit chip and tossed it to the auctioneer. Sale is final, the slaver muttered, shaking his head. No refunds when she dies. The cage opened with a loud creak. The girl didn't move. She thought it was a trick. The human crouched beside her. He didn't grab her. He didn't force her. He placed a canteen of water near her hand. You can drink, he said softly. You're safe. She looked at the water. Slowly, she picked it up and drank. Her hands shook. Her throat burned, but she didn't stop. He watched silently. Then he stood. I'm not your master, he said. You can come, if you want. She blinked. Nobody had ever said that to her before. She stood slowly, almost falling. But she followed him. Not because she trusted him, but because something deep inside whispered, this is different. They walked for hours through dry hills and broken roads. He didn't chain her. He didn't shout orders. He didn't speak unless needed. At night, they camped near an old ruin. He made a fire, gave her food, and offered her a thin blanket. Still no chains. She sat near the fire, eyes on the flames. He handed her a small tin bowl. She stared at it. Is this mine? She asked. He nodded. Yours. She ate slowly. The food was simple, rice and meat, but it felt warm in her chest. Why did you buy me? She asked finally. He looked at the sky. Because no one else did. That's not a reason, she said. He turned to her. His eyes were kind, but sad. I've seen people who everyone gave up on, but they still lived. That means something. She looked down. You're wrong, she said. I'm no one. He didn't argue. He just added more wood to the fire. You were in that cage, he said, but you didn't cry. You didn't beg. You just sat there. That's because I knew it was over. No, he said gently. It was just waiting to begin. That night she didn't sleep well. Every sound made her flinch. But when the fire crackled and the stars peeked through the clouds, she watched the human sleep peacefully, without a weapon in his hand, without fear on his face. She wrapped the blanket tighter. Who is he? Why is he helping me? But her tired eyes slowly closed, and for the first time in years, she didn't have a nightmare. The human's strange kindness. Morning light touched her face. The girl opened her eyes slowly, half expecting cold chains and loud slaver voices. But she woke under a blanket beside a quiet fire, with no cage, no cuff secured, and no pain. The human was already awake, sitting on a rock and fixing something in his hand. It looked like a small music player, old, cracked, silent. You sleep like a statue, he said without looking at her. She sat up quickly, pulling the blanket tight around her. Did I fall asleep out here? You did, he nodded. She looked around, confused. He hadn't tied her, not even watched her like she was property. She could have escaped, but she hadn't. Why? He handed her a metal cup with warm water and a piece of flatbread. She stared at it. It's not poisoned, he said with a half smile. She took it and ate slowly. Every bite reminded her of how long she had gone without real food. Do you always feed your slaves like this? She asked. I don't have slaves, but you bought me. I bought your chance, he said. What you do with it is yours. They started walking again through dry grasslands and old battlefields filled with broken machines. She asked him nothing at first, but after some silence she tried. Where are we going? Somewhere quiet, he answered. I have a place in the cliffs, no slavers, no chains, just time. She blinked. You live alone? Mostly. Why? He looked ahead. Because peace is easier when no one's around to break it. As they walked, she noticed something strange about him. He never looked at her with disgust. He never asked her to work or bow or obey, and when she tripped on a rock, he helped her up gently, without laughing or calling her weak. She didn't understand it. He was kind without reason, and that made her nervous. By the second night, they reached a small metal cabin, half buried in the cliffs and hidden behind vines. The door opened with a soft hiss. Inside, it smelled like old paper, warm wood, and smoke. Welcome to nowhere, he said. She stepped in slowly. There was a table, some shelves, a small stove, and one bed. He pointed to a soft mat on the floor. That's yours now. She sat down. It was more comfort than any cell she'd known. Her eyes drifted to the wall. Photos. So many photos. Aliens, young and old, smiling, standing next to the human. Some had scars like hers. One photo stopped her. A blue-skinned woman with bright eyes, leaning against the human with a kind smile. She was like me, the girl asked. He followed her gaze. Yes. Her name was Lena. She's gone? He nodded. She died? He took a deep breath. Yes. The girl stared at the photo. Was she special to you? She was the first to believe that broken things can still shine. That night she lay on the mat, unable to sleep. She turned the blanket in her hands. He had offered it without hesitation. Why? Was this a trick, a long game, a test? No one gave things for free, especially not to someone like her. She stood quietly and moved toward a metal box in the corner, half buried under tools. It looked different, older, locked. She reached for it. But, before her fingers could touch it, a calm voice spoke behind her. Not that one. She froze. He stood in the doorway, arms crossed. I'm sorry, she whispered. He stepped forward and gently closed the box. That's where the pain lives, you don't need to open it. She looked at him. Then why keep it? He stared at the box for a moment. Because pain doesn't vanish. It just teaches. The next morning, she found a small badge on the table. It had her name carved into it, roughly scratched by hand. She picked it up slowly. I made it last night, the human said. To remind you. You have a name, not a number. She looked at him, speechless. No one had called her by her real name since she was taken. She whispered it aloud. It felt strange on her tongue. But right. He smiled. Now we begin again. Secrets in the human's cabin. The cabin smelled like metal, earth, and quiet memories. The girl explored carefully. She touched nothing, but looked at everything. Her eyes moved from dusty books to faded star maps, to the quiet hum of the old solar panels outside. It was a strange place, cold, but calm. She wasn't used to peace. The human was outside, fixing a broken antenna with quiet focus. She heard the soft clinks of his tools and the sound of dry wind against rock. Inside, her eyes landed again on the photos on the wall. There were at least a dozen, each one showing a different face beside the human. Most were aliens. All were smiling. But one photo was torn. Only half a face remained, part of a woman, possibly human. Her expression was unreadable. The tear cut across the eye. The girl stared at it. She didn't ask, but the question burned in her mind. She turned to a shelf full of strange tech parts, half-repaired drones, blinking memory drives, and a few metal plates engraved with slave IDs. She recognized the symbols, the same IDs once carved into her skin. Her fingers hovered over them, not in fear but in anger. She didn't notice the human walk in. Those belonged to people I freed, he said quietly. I keep them to remember. The names, the faces, the ones who got away. She looked at him. And the ones who didn't? He nodded once. Them too. She asked, what happened to Lena? He didn't answer immediately. He walked over, picked up a small rusted wristband and turned it in his hand. She died saving others, he finally said, including me. That night the girl couldn't sleep. She lay on the floor mat, listening to the wind outside. The cabin creaked gently, like it had stories to tell. Her mind returned to the torn photo, to the wristband, to the strange box in the corner, the one he told her not to touch. She stared at it for a long time and then quietly she stood. She moved slowly toward the box. Her fingers hovered over the lock. A voice behind her stopped her again. I told you. The human said, sitting in the dark. It's not time. She turned to him. You said it holds pain. He nodded. Pain for who? She asked. You or me? He stood and walked to her. Both. She looked up at him. I don't understand you. You save people, then hide. Your own scars, why? Because I'm not the story anymore, he said. She tilted her head. Then who is? He gently touched the badge she now wore around her neck. You are. The next morning something strange happened. She was playing with an old data pad, trying to unlock it. By accident, she brushed it with her palm. It lit up instantly. BioLink accepted, the screen said. Neural compatibility confirmed. Gasped. The human rushed in. What did you do? I didn't mean to, but the pad continued loading. Diagrams filled the screen, codes, maps, files locked in strange languages. She blinked. I can read this. The human stared. That's not possible. It's in my head. The truth began to form. He brought out an old test device and scanned her. After a moment it beeped. Her mind had a unique pattern, rare among her species. It allowed her to interface with old human tech. She wasn't broken, she was adapted. Her species had been used in slave labs long ago, forced to interact with machines, then discarded when they malfunctioned. But her brain had survived, changed, grown stronger. The girl sat on the edge of the cabin's deck, holding the data pad, looking out at the canyons. I was left behind because they didn't understand me, she said. He nodded. Maybe that's why I bought you, he replied. Maybe I felt it. She turned to him. Can I see what's in the box now? He was silent for a long time. Then he said, yes. They opened it together. Inside were three things. A recording from Lena. A silver chain, broken in the middle. A map. He handed her the recording. She played it. If you're hearing this, I'm gone. But if it's her, if it's the girl we left behind, you're more than what they said. You're more than what you remember. You're not a slave. You're a key. She listened, tears in her eyes. Lena's voice wasn't sad. It was full of hope. The human gave her the map. It leads to the slaver's oldest communication hub, he said. If you connect with it, you can expose everything. Will they come after me? She asked. Yes. She stood, stronger than before. Let them. Her first stand. The wind howled through the canyon. The girl stood outside the cabin, her eyes locked on the distant sky. She wasn't the same as before. She stood taller now, more steady, not like a slave, like someone becoming something more. Inside, her hand she held Lena's map, old, cracked, but still clear. A hidden relay station deep in the ground, the place where the slavers kept their secrets. The place Lena had tried to reach and maybe died trying. The human came out carrying 2 packs. "You don't have to go," he said. She looked at him. "I do." He watched her in silence, then finally nodded. "Then we go together." The journey was rough. They crossed broken lands full of old bones and rusted metal. Each step echoed through silence that felt too heavy. The girl walked ahead, scanning the ground, checking the map. She had never led anyone before, but now she did. She didn't ask the human for help, and he didn't offer it unless needed. He just watched, proud, quiet, like a teacher watching a student become a leader. By the 3rd day, they reached the mountain pass. Below it, hidden by thick vines, was a collapsed tunnel, the entrance to the relay system. "Looks like it's been sealed for years," the human said. The girl stepped forward, touched the metal wall, and suddenly, it reacted. Old lights blinked. A low hum rumbled from deep underground. The tunnel opened. She turned to him. "This place remembers me." They stepped inside. Dust, darkness, silence. But the girl walked forward without fear. Her fingers touched the walls, waking lights, activating panels. "I know this place," she whispered. "I was here as a child." Flashes returned, short memories. A hand pulling her through a gate, screams, a woman shouting her name, then silence. The human saw her shake. "You don't have to remember it all," he said gently. She breathed out. "No, I need to." They reached the core room. A single glowing console sat in the middle. She approached it and her wristband blinked. "Neural match confirmed. Welcome, Subject 7B." Her eyes widened. "Subject 7B, she said aloud. "That's what they called me." "Not anymore," the human said. "No," she agreed. "Not anymore." She placed her hand on the console. The screen opened. Files, locations, records of slave trades, routes, command codes. All of it. Proof. She could end the slaver network. From here, she just needed time to upload. Suddenly, a deep noise echoed behind them, a sharp beep. Then a voice. Mechanical. Cruel. "Unauthorized access detected. Defense mode. Active." The walls shook. From the shadows, old security bots awakened, tall, spiked, armed. The girl froze. "Back away," one bot shouted. "Or be neutralized." The human raised his weapon. "We can't fight them all." She looked at the console, then at the bots. 1 second. 2. Then, she closed her eyes and then dove into the system. Not with her body, with her mind. Her thoughts rushed through wires and signals. She saw memories she didn't know she had, data left behind, ghosts of her own mind imprinted in the machine. The system recognized her, not just as a user, but as a part of it. "Command override accepted. Bots, stand down." The machine stopped, then lowered their weapons. The human blinked in shock. "What did you do?" She opened her eyes slowly. "I remembered who I am." The upload finished. She had sent everything, every dark secret, every slave record, every hidden route. All of it went to the rebellion, to the free worlds, to the public. The truth was unleashed. As they left the station, she didn't walk behind the human. She walked beside him. She had faced fear, faced machines, faced her past, and she had won. That night, they camped under the stars, again. The girl sat by the fire, holding Lena's broken chain in her hands. "Do you think she knew I would come here one day?" she asked. The human nodded. "That's why she left the map." "Then I have to finish it." He looked at her. "What's next?" She smiled, small but strong. "We don't hide anymore. We fight." Hunted by her past, the transmission she sent shook the galaxy. Worlds once silent now whispered her name. Old rebels woke up. Hidden slaves dared to dream again. The slaver network, rich, powerful, centuries old, had been hit where it hurt most. And they wanted revenge. The girl stood at the edge of a ruined valley looking out toward the dark sky. The wind pressed against her cloak. Her eyes stayed fixed on the horizon where smoke now rose. The slavers had found them. They were fast. They didn't send scouts. They sent hunters, elite ones. The kind who wore skulls as medals and tracked their prey for weeks. She knew them. She had seen their faces long ago from behind bars, especially one, Captain Vren Dart, a cold-eyed alien with silver armor and a voice like acid. He was the one who branded her neck, the one who called her less than dirt. Now, he was coming again, but this time she wasn't the same girl. The human packed quickly. "We can disappear," he said. "I know places they won't find for years." She didn't move. Her eyes stayed locked on the horizon. "No," she said. "They'll kill you." "Maybe," she replied. "But if I keep running, I'll kill who I've become." That night, they didn't sleep. Instead, they prepared the canyon, the one near the cabin, for a trap. She used her mind to activate old defense systems, lasers, pulse grenades, cloaking fields. The human showed her old soldier tricks, how to use shadows, how to control a battlefield. But she already knew something more important, how to survive. Because surviving was her first language. By morning, the air was too still. Then, they came. 6 armored hunters moved through the trees without sound. She saw them from the ridge, heart pounding but face calm. This time, she didn't hide. She stood on a rock, cloak blowing in the wind, her scarred neck visible. The hunters spotted her, and for the first time in their cold lives, they hesitated. Captain Vren stepped forward. He smiled, a cruel, sharp thing. "You're worth more than your weight in gold now, girl," he called out. "The little slave who thinks she's a queen." She said nothing. He laughed. "Still no words? Still the weak little worm I chained years ago?" She raised her hand, and everything changed. Lasers fired. Ground mines lit the sky. Drones swarmed from hidden caves. Chaos. The canyon exploded with fire and light. She moved like lightning, controlling drones with her wristband, guiding weapons with her mind. The human sniped from above, taking out 2 hunters with clean shots. She faced the others directly. One hunter charged. She sidestepped, hacked his armor systems mid-move, and locked his limbs from within. He fell like stone. Another aimed a plasma blade. She caught his reflection in a puddle, ducked, and stunned him with a shock pulse. Finally, only Vren remained. He faced her in the middle of the canyon, smoke rising, all around them. His armor sparked. His gun was gone. He snarled, "You're nothing without your human." She took one slow step forward. "I was nothing because of you. You tried to erase me. But I didn't die. I changed." He pulled a blade, roared, and rushed her. She didn't move. She simply whispered, "System override." His blade shorted. His armor froze. She stared into his eyes. "Now I decide what I'm worth." The human arrived at her side, breathing hard. "It's over," he said. She didn't take her eyes off Vren. "No, it's just beginning." She stepped back. Vren collapsed, helpless. She didn't kill him. She broadcasted his image across the rebel channels, proof that the slaver lords could be brought to their knees. Later that night, she and the human sat beside the fire again, but this time they were not alone. Around them sat freed slaves, ones hiding nearby who had heard the fighting and come out of the dark. Some stared at her, some wept quietly. One young alien girl whispered, "You're real." The former slave stood, walked to her, and gently touched the badge around her neck, the one with her name. "You have one," the girl said. "I want one too." The girl smiled softly. "Then we'll make you one." That night, under the stars, she began writing names, not numbers, not codes. Names. The slavers had hunted her to bury the past. But now the past had a voice, and it was louder than ever. The turning point. The stars above were silent, but down on the ground, something was changing. It started small. A child whispered her name in a dark work pit. A group of runaways carved her symbol into a wall, a broken chain wrapped in fire, and across the stars, former slaves began asking the same question. If she fought, why can't we? The girl didn't want to become a leader. She never asked for it. She wasn't trained for it. She had once been weak, silent, ignored. But now people were following her, not out of fear, but out of hope. That scared her more than any weapon. She stood on the cliff near the cabin, watching dozens of rescued beings gather below, different species, different languages, different scars, but all waiting for direction. The human stood beside her, arms crossed. "They're looking at you," he said. She shook her head. "They should look at someone better. They are." In the weeks that followed, she trained them, not like soldiers, like survivors. She taught them how to move quietly, how to find safe paths, how to use old tech to their advantage. She reprogrammed, broken drones, created simple shields, built hidden camps. She didn't teach them how to destroy. She taught them how to resist. And they listened, because she didn't speak like a queen. She spoke like someone who had been them. One day, an old rebel leader arrived. Gray scales. One arm missing, eyes full of doubt. "I've led campaigns," he said. "Lost thousands. And now everyone listens to a girl with no army?" She stared at him calmly. "I don't lead an army," she said. "I lead a choice." "What choice?" "The one you never had. The one I had to take for myself." He didn't reply, but the next morning he stood with her. Word spread. Her name became a symbol, not just of freedom but of change. Old systems began to crack. Planetary governments, once blind to slavery, now faced protests. Slave markets saw fewer buyers, more fear. The slaver lords grew angry. They gathered their ships in secret on a quiet moon called Arvin Prime, a fortress of walls, weapons, and watchers. It was there they planned to reset control. It was there they kept the master list, the true record of every slave, ever sold, living or dead. If that list was destroyed, truth would die with it. She couldn't let that happen, so she made a plan. Not with bombs. Not with fleets. With something older. The truth. In a hidden chamber beneath the canyon, she activated an old human AI system, an ancient war assistant once banned for being too clever. The AI scanned her, then said, "Welcome. You are not authorized, but you are interesting." She smiled. "I need your help." "To fight?" "No," she said. "To expose." Together they built a signal, a wide-burst message that could reach every star system. Too fast to stop, too big to hide. But to activate it, she would need to connect it to the master list, inside the slaver lord's fortress. One path, one shot, one mission. The human watched her prepare. "You're doing this alone?" he asked. She nodded. "They need someone to follow. I'll go first." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "You never needed to be first. Just brave enough to go." That night before she left, she stood under the stars with a group of children who had drawn their names in the dirt. "Why do they hate us?" one boy asked. She knelt beside him. "Because we remind them of what they've done." "Will they stop if we tell the truth?" She smiled gently. "They'll try to stop us first, but they can't stop the truth forever." She left before sunrise, cloaked in gray, heart heavy but clear. This was her turning point, not the battle. The decision. She wasn't just a survivor now. She was the message. The proof. The voice of every cage that had ever been closed, and she was walking into the lion's mouth, not to scream, but to show the world what silence had hidden. The galaxy saw her as trash, but she became a legend. They called her a ghost. They said she had no name, no species, no purpose, just a broken thing someone forgot in a cage. But now, across the galaxy, They whispered something different. She's going to Arvin Prime, the stronghold of the slaver lords, the one place no one returned from, and she was walking straight into it, alone. The fortress hung over the moon's cracked surface like a black crown. Turrets on every wall, scanners in every sky, guards in every hall. Inside, behind 10 locked gates, sat the master list, the one document the galaxy was never meant to see. It held the truth of every slave, every child stolen, every mother lost, every number ever burned into a neck. She landed, just after dusk, using a broken mining ship as cover. Her wristband buzzed quietly, connected to the AI she had trained weeks earlier. Cloak holding, doors mapped. "I'm in your ear," said the AI. She nodded. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't angry. She was ready. The first 2 guards didn't even see her. She moved through shadows like smoke, her feet silent, her mind clear. She didn't come to fight. She came to reveal. Past the control gates, past the blood-stained walls, she reached a tall chamber sealed in glass. Inside, the master list, a glowing cube held in anti-grav suspension. "Access requires double bio-link," the AI warned. "One slaver, one system admin." She sighed. Of course. She let herself be seen. 3 guards spotted her. Alarms screamed. She didn't run. She walked into the command hall, let them surround her, let them see the girl they once called worthless, standing tall, calm, unshaken. Bren wasn't there this time, but someone worse was. High Lord Severin, head of the Slaver Council. Tall, pure white skin, eyes like dead stars. He grinned. "Ah, the hero comes to die." She looked around. Cameras blinked. The whole fortress was watching. "Go ahead," he said. "Say your speech. Beg, cry. We'll send the clip to every rebel system." She didn't speak. Instead, she raised her hand. A small dart shot from her sleeve, piercing his wrist. "Biosample collected," said the AI in her ear. Before the guards could react, she slammed her palm on the ground. A pulse exploded from her wristband. It knocked the guards back but didn't harm them, just fried every camera. Alarms went dark. Then, the lights turned gold. The AI spoke through every speaker in the fortress. "System override complete. Uploading now." The master list opened. Hollow screens across the galaxy lit up. Markets, palaces, slums, ships, courts. Everyone saw it. The names, the transactions, the lies. She stood in the middle of it all, silent, letting the truth speak louder than any scream. In a distant system, a mother dropped her water bucket when she saw her child's name on the list. In a dark prison, an old alien whispered, "They finally know what they did to us." And on the rebel ships circling the moon, they cheered. Inside the fortress, chaos exploded. Slavers panicked. Their ranks broke. Some ran. Some surrendered. But not Severin. He roared and lunged at her. She dodged, fast and focused, using the room itself to her advantage. He slammed into a data pillar, sparks flying. "You destroyed everything," he shouted. "No," she said. "You built everything on a lie. I just showed them the floor was made of ash." He drew a blade. She didn't flinch. She activated her war droid signal, summoning the last drone Lena had once rebuilt. It smashed through the ceiling, shielding her. She whispered to it, "No kill. Only show them who he is." The drone pushed Severin to the center of the room, held him there. Cameras flickered back to life. Rebels had hacked in from outside. Now the whole galaxy saw their powerful slaver begging to be spared by a girl, once sold for scraps. She didn't smile. She didn't speak. She just turned her back on him and walked out. The fortress fell within hours. The rebellion didn't need orders, they only needed a sign, and her walk through the gates was that sign. She didn't take command. She gave it back to the people. Later, she stood on the moon's cliffside with the human beside her. He was alive, though tired, his face now lined with pride. "They'll make statues of you," he said. She frowned. "I don't want that." "What do you want?" She thought for a moment, then said, "A school, for children who never learned their own names." He smiled. Lena would have liked that. In time, the girl helped build something more powerful than armies. A voice. She trained others to lead. She sent messages to those still in hiding. She returned to old cages, not to cry but to tear them down. And one day on a quiet world, a young girl with scars on her neck asked, "Were you really a slave once?" The woman with the badge around her neck knelt down. "I was," she said. "They sold me for nothing. But now, you're famous." The woman smiled gently. "I'm not famous because I was sold," she said. "I'm known because I came back." And as she walked into the sunset, the sky above burned with stars, each one a life once counted as lost, now lit, now seen, now free. The end.